The Rugby Zombies Chapter 6. It was Thursday morning. Breakfast. Arwell was eating toast and marmalade. His dad was making more toast. His sister was straightening her blonde hair, and his mum was looking for the lead for her laptop. Arwell looked tired. "You look exhausted," said Mum. "That's because I am," said Arwell. "What's the matter, boy? You not sleeping properly?" said Dad. "You gotta sleep, boy. Everybody sleeps before a game." "He's probably nervous," said Tanya smugly, glancing across the table with a look that suggested that he had every right to be uncomfortable because he was a rubbish rugby player. "I doubt that very much," said Dad. "What did I teach you last night, Arwell?" "Relaxation techniques using the drums of peace," said Arwell. "Nice one," said Dad. "Oh dear," said Mum. She put her arm around Arwell. "Don't worry about the game," she said. "You do look awfully tired." "He's scared," said Tanya. Arwell wriggled out of his mother's grip, picked up his kit in the hall and ran off to school. He couldn't tell them the truth. He was worried about the game, of course. He didn't want to mess that up. But there was something much scarier in his mind. He'd been lying in bed all night thinking about that shape in the forest. He'd seen its face. Maybe it wasn't even a face, just white with holes for eyes. Arwell had also been thinking about Glenn. Glenn hadn't seen the shape, but he felt something. And in the end, even Martin agreed that it was theoretically possible for there to be a zombie in the wood behind his house, although he felt that it was strange that he'd never noticed it before in the past. As he hurried to school, Arwell tried to make himself think about rugby. He tried to remember his dad's drumming and the dreams about scoring tries, but the nightmare in the woods kept coming back again and again. At around 1:30, Arwell had to go to the changing rooms to join the team. All the boys from his year were there. They were noisy and enthusiastic. Arwell, on the other hand, couldn't concentrate. Jack Wilson, the captain, came over to him. "Hiya, Arwell. You'll be fine. Anybody gives you any trouble, let me and the boys know, and we'll sort them out." "Thanks," said Arwell as he pulled on his Aberyscary Comprehensive School rugby jersey, red and black, the same as the club team. He tied on his new shiny boots and clattered out of the changing room with the other boys, their studs pinging on the concrete before squelching into the muddy grass. Mr. Edwards, the games teacher, appeared, wearing his tracksuit and a little green bobble hat. He blew his whistle and the boys gathered around him in a big circle. "Good, boys, excellent, excellent, well done," he said, enthusiastically, clenching his fist. Arwell looked around. They hadn't done anything yet, and Mr. Edwards was already praising them. Enthusiasm, boys, 110% enthusiasm. That's what this is about." He caught Arwell's eye. "Good to see you here, Arwell. You're on the wing. Show them the space outside and then hit them there. You'll do well," he said. "Your dad was great at doing that. He never ever missed a tackle." Arwell tried to look enthusiastic as Mr. Edwards talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the Ponty team. Glenn looked around, slightly bored, because Mr. Edwards always said the same thing. Glenn knew what was coming next. The games teacher took another great breath of air and looked up to the sky as if searching for inspiration. When it came, he spoke again. "This is a game. There are two halves. You could win it," he bellowed. "Give me 20! All the boys threw themselves on the ground and started to do press-ups, grumbling at the same time. "Come on, come on, come on!" shouted Mr. Edwards. As Arwell did his press-ups, he remembered the drumming. For the first time in 2 days, He forgot about the zombie. He was going to play for the school. He had been selected. This was real rugby. He thought about how he'd come bursting through the line, flip the ball to Glenn, loop inside and take a pass and score under the posts. That was going to be a cool moment. The pitch was a little way away from the main school building, between the netball courts and the nature reserve. When they arrived, the Ponty players were already jogging around the touchline. On the halfway line there was a small crowd, a few parents, a couple of mates. His dad was there, so was Steve and Tanya. And Dad's chums, Benbow, hidden deep inside his anorak. Next to him stood Wayne Hoof's dad and half of the netball team, who'd just won their game against the same school. Glenn trotted over to Arwell and punched him under the arm. "Hey, Arwell, under the posts. I got a good feeling about this." "Yeah," said Arwell. It was a home game, so Mr. Edwards was reffing. The home team had lost the toss and took up their positions on the field. On the left wing, Arwell found himself standing close to Dad, Tanya, Steve and the netballers. "Come on, Arwell!" yelled his dad. Arwell looked at the netball girls. Their legs were pink and cold. One of them, called Beth, shouted, "Come on, Arwell!" He was surprised. He didn't think anybody knew who he was. They kicked off, the ball went to the forwards, and things started. By half-time, it was clear it wasn't going to be a high-scoring game. At half-time, they made a circle around Mr. Edwards for the team talk. He was very enthusiastic. "Good stuff, boys. Excellent commitment. Brilliant, brilliant. 110%. Arwell, you've got to come round from your wing, take the ball from Wayne, make the extra man draw the tackle and put Mohammed here in for the try. And don't forget to include Yestin." Arwell nodded. Yestin was on the other wing. Yestin looked at Arwell. He had clear blue eyes, short brown hair, and a face like thunder. "Do we have to use him?" he asked. Arwell knew Yestin didn't like him. He didn't much like Yestin. Yestin stared contemptuously at Arwell with cold blue eyes. But Mr. Edwards didn't appreciate being questioned by his students. "Shut it, Yestin, or I'll drop you." "Does everybody understand the move?" he asked, screwing up his face with enthusiasm. Arwell understood the move all right, but not exactly when they were supposed to do it. But Mr. Edwards moving on. "On your call, Wayne," he said. Wayne Hoof was tough, but taciturn. He nodded. "What's the call?" asked Glenn, wiping the mud out of his hair. "Bananas!" said Mr. Edwards. Mohammed, the lock forward, spoke. "It can't be bananas. That's what we used for the short line out," he said. Mr. Edwards thought for a moment. Mo was right. Bananas had been used up. He needed another word. "Thinking on your feet, Mohammed. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, 110%. Very, very brilliant. And clearly 100% committed. We can't say bananas. Someone, quick, give us another call." "Sausages?" said Connor, the scrum half, nervously shifting from foot to foot. He was a small, thin boy with freckles and long, wispy hair. He was also incredibly fast. Glenn spoke. "Isn't sausages a bit hard to say?" "No harder than bananas," said Wayne. "We need something short," the skipper, Jack Wilson, said. "The call is Arwell." Won't they know it's me?" "They don't know you," shouted Mr. Edwards. "This is your first game. They know everybody else, but they don't know you. The call is Arwell. Brilliant thinking, Jack. That is 110% brilliant." Arwell nodded. He could see that this sounded reasonable, but he could also see a problem. If the Ponty boys did know who he was, then it wasn't exactly the most secret code in the world. To him, it seemed as if it might be the same as saying, "Get Arwell." But Mr. Edwards was convinced. 125% imaginative thinking, Jack, he enthused. Come on, boys, come on. We've done the hard bit, now we're going to reap the benefits. The second half started, and Arwell followed the game from the wing. He kept in position, he caught the kicks that came his way, he dropped back to support the pullback when he was needed to, he came up to pressurise the Ponty boys when they had the ball. When he kicked, he found touch. When he tackled, he hit his opposite wing, and when he got the ball, he played safe and secure. He cut in, looked for the support, kept the ball alive, made the hard yards. Arwell was enjoying himself. Steve was impressed, and Beth from the netball team was rooting for him. Arwell even smiled at her. The game was going like a dream. Somehow, that drumming stuff that he'd done with his dad was working. It made him feel good about what he was doing, and because he felt good, he did it well. But his team couldn't score. Then, about 15 minutes from time, at a scrum just outside the Ponty 22, Arwell heard the word, and the word was Arwell. The problem was he couldn't decide who had said it. Was it his dad, or Steve, on the touchline, or was it the skipper, Jack Wilson, or somebody else on the pitch? He didn't know if the word was attached to something like "come on," or whether it was a single word, Arwell, which means that the move had been called. Arwell froze for a moment, watching the scrum. The two sets of forwards engaged in the fading light. Mr. Edwards stood next to the scrum halves. The ball was just about to go into play. Since Arwell was on the wing, he was too far away from anybody to ask whether the move had been called or not. He just knew that he'd heard his name. He felt confused. He tried to work it out. There wasn't much time. He figured that the game was nearly over. If they were going to make the move, it had to be now. He could see that they were close enough to the Ponty touchline for it to work. He hesitated as he weighed things up. Had the move been called or not? He had to make a decision. Arwell had to think on his own. As Connor dropped the ball into the scrum, Arwell made his decision. He decided to risk it. Probably, he thought, the call had been made. The move was on. He ran off his wing towards his own centres on the opposite side of the pitch. But the ball came out on the Ponty side. The Ponty boys were tired, but they weren't stupid. Their scrum half had spotted Arwell sprinting off towards the other side of the pitch. He flicked the ball to his winger, who practically walked down the touchline. The Ponty boys scored. They crawled back into the changing rooms in silence. Mr. Edwards came to see them before they got into the showers. His round, brown face was kind of knotted up. Well done, boys, he said in his hugely stupid, upbeat way. You gave 110%, but it wasn't enough. Yestin said, we'd have won if it wasn't for that, Arwell. And then it all kicked off. Yestin yelled at Arwell. Arwell shouted that he knew the call was stupid. Glenn thumped Yestin. Jack Wilson smashed his head into his own locker in frustration. In the end, someone had to grab Yestin and hold him down and stop him from attacking Arwell. When everybody calmed down, Mr. Edwards told the boys to get showered and go home. Nobody said any more.